we can quickly catch them up. Thank you, George. We are recording now. Yay. All right. So let's call the meeting to order. Do we have any additions to the agenda today? No? Did everyone have an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from last meeting? I have those open here on my screen to see if there were any changes, anything anybody caught or needed to change. I didn't see anything that needed to change based on what we discussed. Anybody have any?
I'm finishing it as we speak.
Okay. Do we have then a motion to adopt the minutes from last month?
So moved.
I'll second. All right, moved and seconded, all approved. Do we have a quorum? We have one, two, do we have a quorum?
Joe's coming.
There we go, now we have a quorum. Hey, Joe, welcome.
Hi,
Good
sorry, I'm just a tad late.
you. No worries at all. We were just taking a look at last month's minutes and
Okay.
we got a motion to go ahead and file those minutes. And now we're going to move on to the treasurer's report, which is pretty much the same as it usually is. We're still in good position here and haven't spent much money. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. It looks like we had donations of $406.68 in July and some office expenses, $118, $16 in meeting expenses. That must be Zoom. $100 in revenue for July and August. Not much going on there. And does anybody have any questions about the treasurer's report?
What were the donations?
I know that, I think one of them was the work for Sweet Hall. I don't know the other. What did we donate 300 something to? That's a good question. We should.
Would it have been the porta potty bill?
I think you're right. Yep. I think you're exactly right on that. And Diane, we can, sorry for moving around. We can clarify that too. We'll put that in the notes to clarify. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any comments about the treasurer's report? Right. So we will go ahead and adopt that treasurer's report. If I recall, I always get mixed up on this. We don't actually vote on that one. We just agree to file the treasurer's report. Then admin report we have here, you may have read on the agenda, and I'll just revisit that Kathy had written thank you notes to the August presenters and sent a welcome package to Custom House Plans, new member. She sent out emails to the port candidates, but we realized that I think Kathy caught up on it that she had thought we only had 2 candidates, but there are 4. So it's going to be pretty packed if all 4 are there in October for that October meeting. It's going to be a packed meeting. She also sent out for the school board candidates for October as well. So we've got port candidates and school board candidates for October. Then she did send out the email for the community meeting. I think that you all received emails and might be aware that we decided to go ahead and the executive team, along with talking with George about the current state of COVID, the community, what's going on, to go ahead and push that state of the community meeting, because it didn't seem that it would have the same impact on Zoom. And if people wanted to find out what's going on with the county and with the community, but via Zoom, they have other options to do that. So looked at pushing for a few months to see when we can then schedule that in-person state of the community meeting with the commissioner and the chairman. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Will you remind me what date we last had that scheduled on? Because I know it moved around a little bit. I just need to take it off my calendar.
Yep,
September
it was
15th.
the 15th, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. We did receive confirmation from the commissioner regarding that change. I haven't received confirmation from the chairman, so I'll reach out to him again today. I did text him and such to make sure that he knew about that.
So we're postponing it for now. Is that the right? Okay, I'll take it off my calendar too.
Yes. Do you all agree that that was a good decision?
I'm kind of mixed. I mean, I understand why. I feel like Zoom at least keeps us all somewhat connected, and I don't know that, the community at large, how comfortable they are with Zoom. I imagine many people have gotten comfortable with it in the last year and a half. But I understand.
Yeah, we can revisit an idea of having the event over Zoom. We can talk about that in a little bit if you want to do that.
And I'm kind of new. I mean, it's a tough time. It definitely is. So I'm a little mixed. I'll just say that.
Me too.
I think
Any
a
other?
meeting like that's going to be better in person than in Zoom myself. And it seems like it's probably not the right time. I don't even know if the focus that we're trying to achieve with that meeting is going to be front and center in the minds of people, with people sitting there worried if they're going to get sick while they sit in that meeting. They're
Yeah.
not going to either show up or they're not, So I think a postponement's not going to hurt anything myself, unless there's things happening in our community that we really think people need to know about before a vote's coming up, or all of a sudden they see a street tore up or something like that, then maybe. But I think a few months is not going to hurt us.
That's true.
Thank you for that. I really didn't want our organization to be a facilitator of COVID spread,
Right. And I guess in my mind, I was thinking we possibly could do the event, but completely on Zoom. I agree with canceling anything in person. And maybe it won't be as impactful via Zoom.
What do you think?
I don't know.
What do you think? What do you think, Donna?
All good questions and thoughts. I don't have a preference one way or the other.
Kim?
I think that it is hard to broadcast an event like that via Zoom unless you're really set up. You have to have the right setup to make that happen. So since we don't have a big tech department or lots of technology at our fingertips, I think it would make it tricky to have it be the quality that would be necessary for people to really engage.
Yeah, I agree with that part of it as well. So it was one of those decisions as an executive team that we felt it was appropriate to make because it was coming up pretty quickly. So I just wanted to check with all of you about, because it wasn't really something that we put out and said, hey, what's this decision? So I'm glad that you feel that it was a good decision. So then moving on, let's see here. Kathy sent out some invoices that you can see were on here, and then also talked with Jason at C-Wing about maintaining the website. And I did take a look at the invoice. I'd appreciate if you folks would take a look at it too. And then via email over the next couple of weeks, we can decide what capacity, if any, we want Jason to go ahead and take care of maintaining some of the website. And we'll table that for just a minute because I also wanted to mention the admin position and what George has offered for us for the foreseeable future. So let's see here. And that goes along with the next point too. Go ahead.
Did you say that invoice is on available?
I don't think that everybody got it. It's on the Rochester email, so I will forward it to everybody, or we'll have George forward it, or one of us will forward it to everybody for review. And then we can email back and forth on if we want to go ahead and have Jason pick up some of those duties. He also did mention that he's willing to do some bartering, if you will, some service for possible payment of his chamber dues, which, you know, either which way, it's still revenue and expense. So we can discuss that. I think it's just fine to talk about that over email. And then in the meantime, when we're talking about the admin duties, so Kathy is, congratulations to Kathy. She's working at a position for the state, I believe, and super exciting for her, but that limits her capacity to work as an admin. Also, Kathy is committed to continuing her secretary duties at least through the end of the year. So we're going to have to really discuss succession in just a minute. With the departure of Kathy, even though it was just a few hours a week, she really made an impact as the admin and the work that we were able to get done as an organization. George, of course, who is our hero, has offered to work in that capacity for us for those few hours a week on behalf of the EDC. So by supporting the organization and the work that George does, in turn, he's going to focus a few hours a week in place of what Kathy was doing. So at this point, George has offered to do that for us so that we don't have to scramble and try to find an admin person in the next week or so. And that, I think, is a big lifesaver because we have momentum, even though momentum has been stalled a bit or kind of jerky with all this COVID stuff. Having that consistency and that person that we can turn to facilitate communication and projects and such is really valuable. So yay, cheers for George once again. Does anyone have any questions about how that will work, or comments or suggestions or requests of George?
Comment, thank you.
George,
Welcome.
yeah, welcome aboard again. George, did you have comments about that?
Yeah, just to confirm that probably doing 4 hours a week and it's a $20 compensation, but it won't be as a payroll. It'd be more like a contract with the EDC for my services for that. And we'll do it for the first month and see how that goes and if there needs to be any adjustment. But based on the job description I got from Kathy so far, I think we can do that. So.
Great.
I feel like we're getting rock star quality for, what do they call it? Champagne quality for beer prices.
Depending on what beer it is anymore. So I'd like to make a request and a note that we, before the end of the year, sit down and revisit that admin position, and make sure that we're working with George to set up a succession plan for having someone new take that over, because George won't be able to do it forever and ever. And I don't want us to get caught, with 2 weeks to find somebody. And by then as well, hopefully the employment market is such that people are more responsive to coming on board. We'll find someone that wants just a few hours a week. So let's see, with that then, so Kathy will continue her secretary duties for now. I have a new position and I will continue my president duties for now, but I do want to talk about succession for next year. We did briefly talk about that in our last meeting, but I don't think we really got anywhere with it, except that most everybody's committed to stay on the board, but not everybody has the capacity for the positions. Like we're really going to need a secretary treasurer, and someone has to be committed to that. It could even be a co-position possibly, but I feel like we're going to get caught with our pants down in December. And if I don't have the capacity to continue in the role as president, we need to talk about that as soon as possible. Somebody's going to have to pick up that executive board conversation and planning the programs and so on and so forth. Can I get some shout out thoughts about the whole process of succession?
It's daunting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering, and I talked to Diane about it. When was that a week or two ago, Diane? And having a overview of the membership and reviewing the membership, even though they don't necessarily, the COVID thing has really messed with, being able to talk with people. But I'd say look in the membership roles and see who would make sense, who would be a good leader, and then start having that conversation with them if you're going to be doing that type of thing, Tamara.
Mm-hmm. And who may have the capacity, having a 2 or 3 hours out of one Wednesday, during the daytime is really difficult for folks. I did have an idea of approaching Ike at Autotech as far as board membership. I don't know about anyone who's got the capacity for executive board, and leadership probably is somebody that has been on the board for a little while and is familiar, but we as a group should try to at least take a few minutes a week to give to consideration to some folks that would be good additions to the board, and figuring out how we can approach them and let them know that their expertise and their participation would be greatly welcome. If we could all come up with maybe 2 people that might be, we could even put together a nice introductory letter and invitation to explore an option of board membership.
Yeah, that's a good.
Will you remind me again? There are a few of us who are going to cycle off naturally. In November is normally our time where we're doing nominations. So this seems like it would all marry together. I don't recall who it is that is finishing their term.
It was in the meeting minutes, we talked about that. It was open positions for 2022 are Cindy, Kathy, Kevin.
Thank you.
Cindy's going to decide if you're able to run again. Kathy will not run again from what I know, and Kevin agreed to run again.
Okay.
And we did briefly discuss if we wanted to have an after hours get together, not even necessarily like a meeting, but something to do with fellowship and board
Development.
connection and development, and determine at that time what our succession is going to look like, who we need to recruit, and who's willing to take on those leadership positions. Do you guys are you interested in having something like that? Maybe at Talking Cedar and make it more of a fun little get together than, sitting there going over policies and such, because I know we're not all up for extra meetings, but it is something that we really need to get figured out.
Yeah, I'm game.
I'm game. There's some concerns with what's happening again, but I'm game.
Maybe we could use that meeting room up there so that we could socially distance. And of course, we'd be wearing masks and all of that. I find it easier to have those kind of brainstorming sessions in person. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot easier in person.
Okay. So let's make a commitment now. Let's look at our calendars. I'm imagining what, a 5:30-ish?
Five,
But-
5:30?
5:30. Joe, what do you think on time of day first?
Oh, I'm
Is that
flexible.
good?
I'm flexible.
Okay. So let's look at well, are Thursdays good evenings for anybody?
Thursdays are good for me.
Sometimes I'm later getting back to town, but I can do that.
What about next Thursday, the 9th? Is that too soon for us to get together? Because we could also look at like the 23rd. I can't do the 23rd. I can't do the 16th.
I am gone on the 9th.
I'm gone on the 9th as well. So the 23rd would be great.
23rd would be great.
23rd? George, could you be there in the evening on the 23rd? You're on mute, buddy.
Until about 6:45, I have to be in Dakota. I have a Dakota meeting every Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so let's put out to have a chamber get together of the board, and we'll specifically make sure that we cover succession, and then everything else is just visiting and eating and drinking or whatever we want to do. And I will talk with, I'll coordinate that with Talking Cedar, because that seems to be a good venue for us. If there's any problem with that, I will let you know sooner than later, and we'll say you don't get into town, or is 5:30 better than Cindy?
Let me check that day and I will tell you. That particular Thursday, I'm not out of town, so I could be there at 4 o'clock. I can be there whenever.
Let's go ahead and say 5:30 to give people time to wrap up their day at the office, and we'll have George send that invitation out after we confirm with Talking Cedar. Awesome, yay, then we'll get succession figured out.
Is it possible? Is it possible we get started at 5 since George will have to leave early? I'd love to get as much input from him as we could. Is that possible for people?
Can everybody be there earlier? 5 o'clock? Okay,
That works for me.
sounds good. Okay, let me put that back in there.
Thank you.
5 o'clock. Make sure that I'm there. Oops. Okay. All right, that's great. Now what time is it? 11:30. Let's take a look at our. Okay, so we did chat just a little bit about our October meeting. Court candidates have accepted. I do need to confirm that all 4 have. I think so. Mark Weaver's accepted from the school board. Thomas is a question mark. And then experience. Oh, wow. I don't know if we're going to have time for all of this in October. We've got 4 court candidates, 2 school board candidates, right, Kim?
Yes.
And then we also have Ann Pitts from Experience Olympia and Beyond, all scheduled for October. George, can you unmute and tell me your impression of that meeting schedule?
Hers is about a 20-minute presentation, so
How
Thank-
long?
20 minutes normally. So I would say just do the candidates forum and not have her in November.
We did decide that we wanted to do the nonprofit meeting in November, which will take up the whole meeting. What do we want to do?
Have we contacted any of the nonprofits at this point? Well, that seems
No.
like an easy thing to bump then, doesn't it?
Could we do the nonprofits in December? Could we have them present in December?
We probably could. The tribe generally provides food and presents. However, we don't know that we're going to be in person. I highly doubt it with the numbers that are out there. So we could push it to December and see how many of them we could get on Zoom. And that would be also if we're able to to take those little 5-minute, tell us about your organization. And I think posting that video on the Facebook would be well received. I don't know that many more people than the actual nonprofit representatives will be there, but we could do that. We could push it. Would everybody like to push Experience Olympia and Beyond to November, and then push nonprofits to December?
I think it's a great idea.
Mhm.
Okay, then we will work on doing that.
I'll follow up.
What's that?
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see, what else do we have? What else do we have? I think that's all on the agenda for today. And for the general meeting, we'll have the welcome and the pledge, and then I will turn the meeting over to Diane for Bill's remembrance. And then we will pick up with Christina, right?
First, you're gonna have Ty and Jenica, and then Christina.
Then Christina. I have the agenda, so I'll make sure to follow that. But basically I'll turn right over to you, Diane, once we're done with the pledge.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Does anybody have anything else for the good of the order for the board meeting?
I'd like to up our game in social media. So if do all of you have Facebook or use Facebook?
Yes.
Not
So
much.
you could share, we'll do stuff on the chamber Facebook page, but if you could share that out to your pages then as well, that would be helpful.
Yes, and thank you, George. And watch for when George posts the video of the general meeting, and then share that with everybody if you could, because I think that a lot of people will view those even though they may not say anything about it. What else? Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that I'm going to work with George to have us take a look at the membership to see who's paid and not, because I think that as many times as I have checked, I don't think Bay Equity even paid this year yet. So it's like even some of us may need to double check our invoices and make sure that we've been paid for the year so that we can continue the great work. And I think between George and I will go ahead and split that up so everybody has a couple of people to contact and call and ask them graciously to please go ahead and send in their invoices for chamber.
Tamara, quick question. Can you or can somebody send out the blank invoices for this year? I had 3 people I committed to get invoices to, and I only had my own invoice from a year ago. I didn't have a blank copy. So if we could get those out, I had committed to take invoices to Figaro's, to True Point Metal Works, and Levon Bailey, but I just need blank.
Yeah,
For the template or what have you.
sure.
I'll send it to you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. So getting those invoices paid will be good, and then having a goal of really getting after those within the first quarter of the year, again, will be better for us than coming in November and asking people for money. That's back pay.
We're gonna send the invoices for 2022 out on close to December 1st.
Mhm.
George, if they hadn't paid for 2021, are you going to include both years in the bill just to attempt to collect?
That's a board decision.
I say yes. And if somebody has a hardship, if there's a business that has a hardship where they say that they just can't see that expenditure this year, then we could, take those one-off requests, or because we don't want to lose membership, but we also don't want to devalue the membership. There was something, oh, and then speaking of membership, you know, we've talked about having an after hours, we've talked about having ribbon cuttings. I mean, a number of things to bring more emphasis and to bring more visibility to the chamber. And I'm really struggling. I don't know how much of it really is the COVID limitations, how much of it I'm using that as an excuse, but I don't know about all of you, but I'm struggling with that, reaching out, making it a priority, trying to find ways to take the time to suggest that people join the chamber. And part of that too is I'm really struggling with articulating the benefit, especially during this time. And when I sit down and think about it, the benefit is still huge. There's still so much information and networking opportunities. There's a lot in the chamber membership for people. And because I'm such an in-person person, I focus just on the networking, and that networking opportunity isn't as great right now. And so I just wonder if any of you were struggling with that as well.
It seems like with the entire upheaval of everything, it's hard to act normal and do all the normal things that we've been used to doing. And, you know, developing our priorities, and those have shifted. So I think we'll, you know, they talked about a new normal, and as we continue to ride the wave here, I think we'll get settled in and we'll get our energy back for relooking at what our priorities are and make a plan and keep them simple enough where we can play them out.
I don't think you're alone in the feeling like you have the personal capacity to take on additional projects at this time. I share that feeling.
I do as well.
Yeah. How are you doing? How about you, Joe? You're on mute. There
I
you
had
go.
to unmute. Yeah, I'm a community leader in my own church, and we have definitely struggled dealing with how much do you even ask people to come to anything? You know, you even encouraging church people to invite people to come to church is it feels like a hard ask right now. Like you're violating some conviction that they have about that, you know. So it's definitely changed the way to think about bringing people together. My world is all about that, bringing people together in small group settings, or, you know, a large group setting, or a community outreach. And so, yeah, just the thinking about it zaps your energy. Just thinking about how to encourage people to be involved zaps your energy. And so I think our organization here in the chamber definitely has struggled just because of some of those things. But I think it's just going to be a little bit of a matter of time. This COVID resurgence is just so annoying that it's hit, and yet it's real. You know, I know several people that are sick, and it's a real deal right now. And so I think it's just going to take a few months, I think, before I think people are ready to recommit as a community. So I don't think we need to be too alarmed by it. I think we're going to get through it, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all kind of on the same board. George, in your experience, are the other groups having similar issues?
Some are, some aren't. Comes down to leadership and engagement, and trying to continue to do stuff that supports your community.
And for the groups that aren't struggling, like for instance, maybe Tenino's not struggling as much. I'm not sure which ones seem to be keeping it engaging. But my question about that is, how big of a leadership group are you seeing does it take to keep that engagement in place?
Tenino has about 9 board members. with the president being the Sandstone Cafe owner, and then Joyce Worrell, who's been the chamber president for a long, long time in the past. Tyler Whitworth from Edward Jones Engagement. So handful. Like Margaret Mead said, it only takes a handful of committed citizens to make a difference in the world. That's all that's ever done.
That's right. That's right. So do you find that there is some sort of behavior or some way of communicating by a couple of key people in those groups that's keeping the rest engaged?
Well, one, you need to have more fun in everything that you do with your board and then with your members community. We need to figure out how we can enthuse, put more fun into this, even if it's just you guys reaching out again to one or two members, say, hey, how are you doing, type thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, just take the time to do that. And I know you're all busy, but that's what it takes. Then Yelm Chamber, they have a paid director that's full-time, and she does a weekly coffee chat. Thursday, she does a weekly announcement on Wednesdays. Then they just got done doing their Yelm Prairie Days. They did their barbecue festival. I mean, they had a lot of stuff going on. And they have a promotions committee as well.
Mhm. They're a big chamber.
They kind of have an ambassador program too. So yeah, but Jennifer Ferguson, she's a chamber member for Rochester. She attends Yelm. I think she's a board member there, but she attends our chamber, Rochester. She attends Nanaimo Chamber. She just put a car show on. So maybe we should do a spirit committee, invite people to be part of that.
That's a really good idea. It's right along the same line as I was having a thought that it would be great to have even just once a month, a morning, and you wouldn't call it a mixer, but something encouraging, something that the chamber members could attend that is more of a networking opportunity and an uplifting, get your morning going kind of thing. And I don't know that weekly would be it, but maybe even monthly, in place of some of these in-person activities we could do that would be, instead of listening or watching a presentation, really interactive, that people could start counting on, that we could have we could have drawing contests, we could have, some things to add to it, some icebreakers and getting to know our members. It seemed that in lieu of being able to do events and after hours and ribbon cuttings, that something like that would be in order. Is this an idea to explore? And I imagine it'd be like a 7 a.m. kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wonder how much of our membership would participate. I mean, I love seeing all of you, but I think all of us don't need more things to attend during the week. But if we could get our general membership engaged, I think that would be awesome. I just don't have the answer as to how to get them. Whether it's click on their computer or show up at an event.
Right. I wonder if our membership would participate in a quick, just like 5-question survey to give us an idea of what they may attend. And if they were to attend a meeting via Zoom or in person, what they would want to see that is different than the general meeting.
Yeah.
Some people like surveys.
Yeah.
Especially if it's really quick.
I think that people would come to something where there's food and currently where it's outdoors. And I think that most people would feel pretty comfortable and want to get there. And you throw some prizes in and just make it a fun. I think that people will respond if they'll come, if you just initiate that. And I don't know what you're going to get back in a survey as much. Surveys are, I don't know what kind of honest feedback we would get. That we just got to inspire them with something fun.
I know that our fan does they've done a outdoor barbecue that they hired Mills Diner to provide food for, and they also had some potluck or some additional food brought in. And it seems like people come out for that type of thing, Joe. I agree with you on that. And a thought came to mind of I could use some extra walking. So meeting at the park to go do a collective walk.
Good idea.
Good ideas. Donna, did you have an idea?
I do. How do you like how I raised my hand? Pretty
I
cool.
love
huh?
it.
Here, I've got a real simple idea, and that is to do a annual apple pressing. And a lot of the members have apple trees in their yards or something like that, where it's an event that it's unusual, right? And we have the apple press at the Gate School. We could do a chamber member apple pressing for your winter apple cider or something.
I
How
love it.
fun.
Bring your apples. I mean, make it a chamber event that is specifically targeting the chamber members. And it might not be, the first year, but almost everybody has an apple tree and goes, oh, so cool, we can go press our apples. I think we would need to gather jars because most people don't have cider jars. And
Jugs.
Or jugs or juice bottles or.
Mhm. So we supply, the juice bottles, they supply the apples, and we've got the apple press, and make it and build with community by gathering together to do your apple pressing.
That's an awesome idea.
I like it.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So we would then, and in my view, that's not a bunch of people sitting in one room for a length of time together. It would be kind of a line of, we could still distance and all of that. And I wonder if that would be super fun. And how would we tie it to chamber and the chamber mission of, I wonder if
Give me
there's
your elevator speech about the chamber mission, Tamara. What's the 20-second elevator speech? Quick.
the chamber mission, and I don't know the exact words of it, I should, but the chamber mission is to facilitate camaraderie and opportunity between business members in the community, as well as to share pertinent information that relates to them and their businesses, along with supporting the community at large through advocacy, through education.
Okay, that's not okay. So gathering the members together fits right within that.
Yep.
So why not send a personalized card to each member and pick a date this fall? I mean, start it now. Pick a date this fall. And we simply, we're going to be gathering at the Gate Schoolhouse. We're going, first I got to check, I got to check the dates. You pick a date, I'll check the dates over at the school.
So I have another thought too, though, and keeping it more central in Rochester, if we wanted to use a grounds in Rochester.
Only if you have an apple press in Rochester. I'm not hauling this apple press.
Makes sense.
It's more stationary. Okay, got it.
But I really like that idea, and something about how do you like them apples, is kind of fun. And bring your apples and bring your business cards.
And with regards to Diane's thought of another, central Rochester thing, why doesn't the chamber pick a day, a weekend, Sunday afternoon maybe, or something, and talk to Sweet Hall and offer and do a work party at Sweet Hall where all the chamber members gather and help clear their park area and get their park area moving. I mean, things like that where it's an activity. None of us want another meeting. I'm going to tell you from my point of view, I don't want another meeting. Meetings to me are like useless. Give me something to do.
I like the idea of the apple press. It's unique. Something that not every, oh yeah, I've already done that before. Thoughts, Kim, what are your thoughts?
I think it's going to speak to some people, and other people are going to see it as, oh my gosh, another thing to do. So I think it's just going to depend on, business by business. So I think the trickiest part would be to, plan for the unknown of what level of participation we might have. And so I don't know if we, have people RSVP for a time slot, or, or just have it open and we get who we get and
maybe
go from there.
could this be a test for something we do and invite the community in the future?
No,
Just the chamber.
no, not this particular one. I mean,
No,
we
not
could do
this one.
Apple. Well, but I think as chamber, we of course we can do this for the community other times, but
Right.
I think gathering the chamber together to become in communion with each other, I don't know if that's more cohesive. Dad just walked in and that's his opinion.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi,
Okay,
Dad.
I
So,
like that.
anyway, so yeah, it would take a little bit of organization, but and and a few people to RSVP and say, yeah, we want to do this. Send it out a personal, and I'm all about a personal handwritten card that gets sent out and says, hey, we're going to do an apple pressing. Here's the date. Here's the time. Bring your apples. Please check your apples for worms first. Make sure you don't bring us wormy apples because that's nasty.
What's the
And do you have jugs? Can you contribute jugs, or are you going to need jugs for your apple cider? Those, a handwritten thing that says RSVP and tell us if you want to come.
What do you think, Joe?
One thing that might be helpful, like I love this idea of just something to come together and connect, but I'm wondering if we're at a point with our whole chamber that we would do well if we took the whole list of our current chamber members, maybe several have not been connected for a year in our meetings, but if we would take that time, if I took 6 names and made phone calls and made a connection, it might be helpful if we get a little aggressive as an executive committee to just reach out and see how they're doing and see what they need. And hey, by the way, we have we have the apple cider event coming up and we really would like you there, and bring some apples and get something for your family. It'd be great. But I think we got to be a little aggressive at making a few phone calls if we divvy up the list well.
And I think the aggression also, and I'm not the chamber members and their families. I think we specifically include their families, because how many of us chamber members have a couple of grandkids that we'd go, oh, this would be fun to take them to,
I think
right?
so.
I think the chamber members and their families.
I like it. I'll bring apples.
All right,
George,
I'll bring a jug.
any comments about that?
Just who's going to lead the pack?
Donna.
Yeah, Donna. She says Donna. Yeah, I'll lead. I'll run it. I just need somebody to make a decision on date and time.
Okay. So it sounds like it's when are the apples falling off the trees?
Late September-ish.
Why not? Let's plan it for the first week in October.
Do you think, everybody, do you think that a weeknight is going to be better? Because we don't know what the weather's going to be like. A weekend, I think would be a Saturday afternoon.
Or a Sunday afternoon.
Either one.
We could do Sunday afternoon.
Sunday
That'd be-
afternoon in October.
Yeah, October 3rd at 3 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
October 3rd at 3 o'clock. I like it, George.
I do have a comment, if you don't mind me adding. I didn't want to rain on your parade, but I do want to mention that I think it's the first weekend in October, Onalaska has the apple harvest and they do a similar situation, but I think it's the same weekend. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's good to know. That's good to know. It's probably far enough away.
Well, and we're doing specific invites for this, so I don't know that I understand we're always going to have weekends, times when other places are going to have other things. And, if somebody wants to go to that instead of this, we're not trying to earn $1 million, on this. We're just simply providing a space and a time for people to enjoy their families.
Sure. I
That's
just wanted,
good to know though, Brian, because maybe people will have apples on the brain and they'll go to the Alaska on Saturday and then maybe decide to bring some apples out to be pressed on Sunday. Yeah,
I just
That's
wanted
good to know.
to mention
Thank you.
that.
we appreciate that a lot.
So this is an annual thing that I participate in with some other families, and they've gone to purchasing the jugs, so they're all sterile and what have you. And so I just looked it up. Like you can buy 108 pack. 108 pack of half-gallon plastic jugs for $60.
Wow.
And so it's something just to consider.
I think
We could
that,
put our logo on them.
Well, then that becomes really expensive unless you want to make stickers and
Yeah, just
put that on.
stickers.
Yeah. But just plastic jugs. So that's something we'd want to consider. The other thing that when I do just with a couple other families, we have to be pretty conscientious of like how many knives are there and like who's operating them, because I don't know, Donna, with the press that you're talking about, if the apples need to be all cut first or not, but the one that
No,
we
it's
use, we cut-
I don't think so, but it's a good idea to at least cut them in half so you can check the interior.
Right.
So they're,
So
yeah.
just, there's some things that some supplies we would need, knives and some guidelines, make sure everybody keeps their fingers. And
How fun. What a great idea. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, everybody. Let's go ahead and I put it on my calendar for October 3rd. So if for some reason that needs to change, we'll know sooner or later. And Donna, I'll connect with you and we'll figure out the logistics of getting volunteers and such. And then the rest of the board. I do love the idea of calling the people because we haven't done that in a little while. And so it's time to do that again and go from there. Is everybody on board with that?
Yeah, I like it.
Awesome.
Okay, I just now put it on the calendar.